We will make a name. What's another way of saying that? Choose your own deity, polytheism. Amen. And we will build a tower to reach heaven. What is that saying? Let us make a name, and we will be, unless we be scattered. Meaning, if we follow Abraham, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if we follow Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? We're not going to be able to do things our way. We're going to be scattered, meaning we will have no foundation on this earth. We won't have no possessions. We won't have any materialistic. We won't be able to plant roots in this world. We're going to have to look for a different world to plant roots in. And they didn't want that. Is anyone getting this? I said, is anyone getting this? So in essence, the tower, or the sin after the flood, was an attack on the sovereignty of Yahweh himself and the messenger of the covenant, Avraham Avinu. Nimrod desired Avraham's death and Avraham's newfound Shema confession and the death of Yahweh himself. I will not have Abraham's Semitic deity tell me where to live and how to worship. And I'm not moving out of Babylon because I'm planting roots in this life, in this world, in my mother's religion. My mother lived too long. She raised me too right. She spent too many days praying for me to change and break her heart. I know I got someone with that one. That was a zinger. It was a good zinger, though. A good zinger. Abraham, I'm not interested in your Shema. I'm not interested in your Yahweh. I'm not interested in his plan to take Torah to the nations. I am not interested. Rabbi, but this is cool. This is great stuff, man. Where are you getting this from? I just showed you. But you want more proof? Good. Listen to this. According to Sefer Yashar, the book of Jasher, which is mentioned how many times in the Bible? Joshua 10:13, 2 Shmuel 1:18 and 19, and 2 Timothy, where it talks about Jannes and Jambres withstanding Moshe. I believe it's 2 Timothy 4, right? Or 3. It's mentioned, Sefer Yashar, the book of Jasher, is mentioned 3 times in the Bible. Now, watch what Sefer Yashar says. The book of Jasher, which I have read cover to cover. I edited it into a sacred name version as well. Now listen to this. According to Sefer Yashar, Abraham, listen very carefully please, or else I'll preach another hour. Abraham hid in a cave. Listen to this now. Abraham hid in a cave for 10 years in the land of Shinar, while Nimrod was looking for the child. When Abraham was born, according to Sefer Yashar, Yahweh put a sign in the heavens. Sound familiar? When Yeshua was born, the men came from the east saying, "Where is he who is born King of the Jews?" When Avraham, the first who would not know the truth, but willing to go to the nations with the truth and cross over. When Avraham was born, Yahweh aligned the planets to declare his birth. Nimrod being what? An astrologer. Hello? Was hunting him even from his birth. For 10 years, Abraham lived in a cave with his father Terach, not Terah, Terach. And now listen to this. Even while the building of the Tower of Babel was going on, Abraham had gone out of the cave and now was learning Torah from Noah in Noah's house. Don't take my word for it. This is in the book of Jasher, chapter 9. Take notes. The book of Jasher, chapter 9, verses 9 through 11. I'll be happy to get you a copy. The book of Jasher, Sefer Yashar, is mentioned 3 times in the Bible as authentic. 3 times. According to Sefer Yashar, Abraham was learning Torah from Noah while Nimrod and those nations were building and planning and scheming. Now listen to this. In Sefer Yashar, is anyone enjoying? Come on. Other than you guys, is anyone else enjoying? In Sefer Yashar 9, thank you. In Sefer Yashar 9:23, This is going to blow your mind. Ready? In Sefer Yashar 9:23 it says that 600,000 children of Ham, very important, 600,000 children of Ham joined Nimrod in building the tower and the city. Does that 600,000 sound familiar? Where do we get that number 600,000 from? Hello? Where do we get the 600,000 number from? 600,000 men, women, and children exited Egypt. Here, 600,000 remain in Babylon, i.e., spiritual Egypt. 600,000 under the tents of Shem left Egypt to follow the confession and the Shema as revealed to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Here, Nimrod is saying, we're not leaving and going anywhere. We're planting roots in this world. Come join us. And 600,000 sons and daughters of Shem joined Nimrod. And where was Abraham during all this time? Getting ready to take the message and his seed, his progeny, to the nations. Does this make sense? So when the Bible speaks of Nimrod being a mighty hunter, who was he hunting? He can't be hunting Jews. The Jews didn't exist in those times. He's not hunting Queen Esther. Thank you. He is hunting the message of the true name and monotheism that accompanies the Shema, and the promise of physical multiplicity that would lead to you and I today as returning Yehuda and Ephraim being Israelites. He tried to stop the blessing of the Abrahamic covenant by killing the messenger and his message. So that Nimrod was roots while eliminating, it was a two-pronged approach. He was planting roots while killing the messenger and his message.
That's what they're trying to do to you.
Exactly. They can't catch me. I don't live immorally. I don't take drugs. I don't live two lives. I'm the same way during the week. I'm just bummed out, just like I'm bummed out on Shabbat. What you see is what you get. All right? So when they can't find anything in my personal life, they attack the message. When they make stuff up. No love. I don't have any love because I refuse to pray for healing 100 million times when Yahweh says I pray once and you're healed. But there's no love. No love. Because I refuse to pray for the same people every week over the same thing. And as a brother pointed out to me this week, when you see prayer in Israel, it's always corporate. You don't see people coming up individually. In Israel, prayer is always corporate. Look everywhere in the Tanakh. In the renewed covenant, people came individually. That's true. That's fine. No problem. No problem. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. In other words, my philosophy is I want to teach you how to fish instead of giving you fish all the time. Okay, watch this. So 600,000, listen, joined Nimrod to build the Tower of Babel. The same number of those under the tents of Shem who would come out of Mitzrayim. So this is a new covenant, listen carefully, a separate entity covenant to make of himself, Nimrod, the father of the Babylonian faith, and to make the Hamites the chosen seed. And he found 600,000 willing to join him. The same number of righteous Semites under the tents of Shem, even a mixed multitude that came out of Mitzrayim. Does this blow your mind? Same amount of people. That was the first attempt at separate entity theology. We don't want to be too Jewish. We don't want to be too legalistic. So we'll start another religion based on Babylonianism, based on making a name for yourself. Meaning, call him whatever you want. He'll understand. No, he won't. He sent Yeshua to straighten out that error.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
If he was so understanding, why did Yeshua say, Father, I've completed my task. I have revealed your name, not your title, your name to those thou hast given me. So what was Abraham doing? What was Abraham doing? He was hiding in a cave for 10 years from Nimrod, the messenger of the Babylonian covenant versus the messenger of the Yahwistic Shema. According to Bereshit Rabbah, now I'm going to use Talmud. It is okay. Let me help you in your fear. It is okay to use the Talmud when it confirms the Bible. It is not okay to use the Talmud when it says horrible things. Like Balaam resurrected from the dead, and whoever does not believe the sages concerning Balaam will be boiled in excrement. It says that anybody who believes in the resurrection of Balaam, i.e. Yeshua, will join him and boil forever in excrement. We don't believe that part of the Talmud. Do you understand?
I do.
We don't believe that Mashiach is boiling in excrement. We don't believe that. But when the Talmud confirms the word of Yahweh, there's some very bad things in the Talmud. But when it confirms the word of Yahweh and the book of Yasher and many other sources, it's Tov. But we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So you need discernment, the gift of discernment. I'd rather have the gift of discernment than the gift of charisma or personality any day. Trust me. Okay, now watch this. In Bereshit Rabbah, it says this. This will blow me away. This will blow you away. Listen, you ready? Regarding the Shema, or the master, are Yahweh, Eloheinu, they, meaning those Hamites who joined Nimrod in building the Migdal in Babel, they would say while building, now listen to this. Listening? You listening? You listening? You listening? Thank you, Beltran. Who is he that chooses the heavens for himself? What a mean Yahweh. He won't let anybody live in his house. What a mean Yahweh. He won't let anybody else into heaven. He chooses it for himself. This is what they were saying while they were building. And gives us only the earth. This was the gospel of Nimrod. Who is this who keeps heaven to himself? And all he does is give us the earth? Sorry, Yahweh, we're coming to your house. Come. Let us build a tower and construct an idol at the top. We're not just building a tower to get into Yahweh's house. We're going to build an idol, and on the top of the tower, we're going to construct an idol, listen, with a sword in its hand, so that it will appear to do battle with Yahweh. So the tower, the sin after the flood, we know what the sin was before the flood. The sin after the flood is an attack on the Shema, an attack on the messenger of the covenant, and an attack on Yahweh's goodness by saying, we get the earth, you get the heavens. Sorry, Papa, we're coming up. Do you understand? And there's where the arrogance and the pride comes in, and the false accusation against Yahweh. And at the top of the tower, if and when it's done, we're going to put an idol with a sword pointing toward Yahweh. That should remind you of another deity whose symbol is the sword. We'll get into that now. That's in the Talmud. So in this case, it gives tremendous insight into what they were doing and what they planned to do had it been done, had it been finished. And what did Yahweh say? Sorry. You'll have no other Elohim before my face. You're going to put that thing in my face? You're going to build up? Well, I don't think so. I'm gonna scatter you, but not in righteousness. I'm gonna scatter you in unrighteousness. But Abraham I'll scatter in righteousness. Two messages. One desiring to take the message to the world, one desiring to stay in Bavel regardless of the calling. Do you know there are many people that are called to the same thing that you and I are called to be Nazarene Israelite believers, but they refuse to come out? Yahweh loves them no less than He loves us. It's the same calling. They refuse to come out. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. And in essence, they're waving a sword at Yahweh and go, okay, let's get it on. I know what you're telling me is right. I know what you're telling me is true, but let's get it on. I refuse to give up my altar on Sunday at 1 o'clock for your altar, what you say is your altar. And next time someone says to you, you're too picky about this Saturday thing, you're way too picky about it, say, fine, I repent. Now, let's schedule the Little League game for 1 o'clock and the rehearsal for 10 a.m. on Sunday. And all of a sudden, you find out that they're pickier than you are. But they're picky about Sunday. So the chutzpah, the arrogance, as mentioned before, who is he that chooses heaven for himself? As if Yahweh doesn't have a right to decide where he dwells. Okay. Who is this Yahweh of Abraham? Abraham was hiding in a cave. Nimrod was a hunter of Abraham's soul and his Yahweh. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. As we close, yes, we got so much more to cover, but the time I don't like to cut the clock. No sense beating the clock. I want to. So the sin of the generation of the Tower of Babel represents spiritual rebellion, denial of Yahweh's rule. It was a war against the idea that Abraham was chosen to make known through world evangelism the faith in Yahweh, creation under His rule and His sovereignty. But more than that, if we take the arrogance with the sword, put an idol on top of the tower, we take the attack of Abraham, messenger of the covenant, an attack on the message of the covenant, to the promise of physical mobility. So they said, build quick. Why? Because haven't you heard? Abraham's deity is going to scatter take his truth and his message to all the nations. Hurry up and plant roots in Babylon before he scatters us. Make sense? Yes. 2 points as we close. Ultimately, this battle not only is between Bavel and Yisrael, it's between the sons of Shem and the sons of Ham. Brothers and sisters, it's no accident that bacon is called ham. It is a sure manifestation of the appetite and the diet of the sons of Ham. Now, today I read that verse that seemed to be out of place when we read the Torah. Don't close your Bibles yet, we're not going anywhere. Bereshis 11:9. Now watch this. Therefore it is called Bavel, because Yahweh confused the language and the message of the earth and said, you're going to go into the nations, I'm going to scatter you anyway, but you won't be scattered according to my message. You're going to go in your own name, in your own authority, with your own message. And you're going to confuse everybody because everybody's going in a different name, in a different authority, and a different message. And that's why you're all confused before you came to the truth. Because everybody went out with a different name, with a different message, with a different deity. And it's like, who's right, who's wrong? And if Yahweh didn't show us the truth, we wouldn't know. We would not have a clue.
No clue.
But now watch. The reason I mention this is Yahweh said, okay, building your way is not going to keep you on this earth. In other words, if you choose to stay in Babylon, you will die in Babylon, and Yahweh will scatter you away from His presence. It's not going to stop. The only way to be gathered to His presence is to do it His way. Amen. Now watch this. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old. Now what's going on here? According to Sefer Yashar and the Talmud, and even here, we know Nimrod was a Hamite, was he not?
Yes.
Where do we get that from? Go back to Bereshis 10:8. Cush was a son of Ham. Bereshis 10:8. Cush began Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. That's why it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter. And in the beginning of his malchut, his kingdom was Babel. He was a king. Nimrod was a king. And Abraham's Yahweh was also a king. It's a battle of the kings. And he went out of the land, went out of Ashur, who built in Chalna in the land of Shinar. So we see that Nimrod was a child of who? Cush or Ham. And the 600,000 that joined him were children of Ham. So it is the battle between the children of Ham and the children of Shem. In the essence, Yahweh is bringing judgment to the children of Ham. Not because they're people of color. Because they're people who want to name their own deity and have attacked the messenger of the covenant and refused to go into the nations, but rather stay in Babylon and in their comfortable religion rather than step out in truth.
Come on.
And so Yahweh cursed them.
Come on.
So the children of Ham are cursed, not because of the color of their skin, but because of their heart rebellion against Yahweh. And I'm going to prove to you, and this is a little bit of a deviance, but I'll go till 6 o'clock anyway. So I have a few minutes. Those who say, oh, you know, people of color are cursed. Don't you know? It says it right back there. That's a lie, and I'll show you it's a lie. And I proved this many, many messages ago. But for our newcomers, let me show you something, how to answer these hate mongers.
Amen.
Go to Bereshis.
Take your time.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Amen.
Bereshis 9:25. 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Yafet. Which one looked at his father's nakedness? Huh? Who looked at the nakedness? Go back to verse 22. Ham, verse 22, Genesis 9:22. Ham, that bacon head, the Abba of Canaan saw the nakedness of his Abba and told his 2 brothers, and Shem and Japheth covered their father's nakedness. Okay, that's what love is. It covers sins. It doesn't expose it, talk about it, and propagate it. It covers shortcomings. You can talk about love until you're blue in the face. True love is covering a shortcoming. And not going around proclaiming it and teaching about it or telling other people about it. If you're going to tell somebody about it, tell it to them. Not to others. Correct. Okay. And Shem and Japheth took and covered. Now, Noah woke up from his wine and knew that his younger son, what his younger son had done to him. Who was that? Ham. Correct. So who looked at his father's naked? Now, those who say that the people of color or black people are under a perpetual curse say that Noah cursed Ham, right? And all black folks are from Ham, therefore blacks are cursed. That's a lie. I'm going to show you how that's a lie. Noah said, cursed be Canaan.
Not him.
Not Ham. Why Canaan? That's a good point. That's a good question. And he said, an Eved or a slave of Avadim. Eved of Avadim, he will be to his brothers. The Hamites were never cursed.
Amen.
A man was cursed. One man in his generation. Smoke that in your hate-filled pipe. One man was cursed. Not the man who they say was cursed, Ham, and all his descendants. The Bible doesn't say Ham and all his children, the black folks, were cursed. It says one man was cursed just as long as he and his brothers were alive. When he and his brothers died, so would the curse. P.S. Ham was never cursed. And all these hate mongers that go around propagating hatred insist that Noah cursed Ham. Hello? Noah cursed Ham. No, he didn't. He never cursed Ham. If he didn't curse Ham, he couldn't curse Ham and all his children. he cursed one man, Canaan.
Yeah. Amen.
That's a little bit of a sidetrack. But not much of a sidetrack, you know why? Because I have to close with this. I said the name of this message was The Tower Will Yet Fall. And by the way, there's a lot of good evangelical Christians that teach good hatred and racial prejudice. People that can't talk about it have a hang-up with it, trust me. I don't mind talking about it, I don't have a hang-up with it. You understand what I'm saying? People that can never talk about it honestly and openly. And that's one good thing the talk shows have done. Like Oprah and Montel Williams and, you know, even though a lot of the stuff on there is ungodly and unrighteous, I mean, we understand that, but that's one thing that, you know, people can meet and talk. And that from that perspective, I guess it's positive. Only from that perspective, and bringing people of different races and colors together. But I was going to close with this. The message is the tower will yet fall. Well, what tower? What tower? Today there's a tower. And it's interesting that I mentioned this with Canaan and Ham, because that's a tower of hate. Hello? Go with me, please, to Yochanan 15:25. What was the fuel that drove the Tower of Babel to be built? What was the fuel? Hatred of the Yahweh, hatred of the Shema, hatred of the true name, and hatred of Abraham, and hatred of the promise, and hatred of the covenant. In its core, it was hatred. How dare Yahweh reserve heaven for himself? How dare him? And keep us on earth. How dare him keep heaven his home to himself? So tell me, brothers and sisters, what was the core behind the Migdal of Babel? A hatred for Yahweh. All the things we touched on were the symptoms. But the cause, the root cause, was hatred for Yahweh. And those who refuse to hear the message, when they know what you believe is true, when they know what you preach is true, when they know what you live is true, hatred for Yahweh. If their love for Yahweh was greater than their comfort zone, they'd leave those things. Now watch this. But I tell you today, the tower will yet fall. What tower? Go to Yochanan 15:25. John, would you give me 5 more minutes?
Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, brother. 5 more minutes? Yochanan 15:25. 1089. Yeshua talking about hatred toward him. This comes to pass, Yochanan 15:25. This comes to pass that the word might be fulfilled that is written in their Torah. Not the Torah, their Torah. Because the Torah doesn't teach hate. The Torah teaches to come out of Babel, not to stay in there.
15:25.
This comes to pass, they hated me without a cause. Now jump down to verse 18. Or up to verse 18. If the Olam Hazeh hates you, John 15:18. Yochanan 15:18. If the Olam Hazeh hates you, that's great. You know it hated me before it hated you. That's wonderful. If the world hates me, it hated me before it hated you. Luke 19:14. Lucas 19:14. Hate. We're talking about hatred. Lucas 19:14. It was during the preparation for the Pesach,